Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Annie Lau. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Carrie Lam announces who should get priority when quarantine-free travel with the mainland begins. More than 18,000 Hongkongers living on the mainland registered to vote at the border in LegCo polls. And Washington confirms a diplomatic boycott of Beijing Winter Games, triggering a warning from China. The chief executive says those who have urgent needs will be given priority when the mainland border reopens. Officials are putting the final touches to plans to allow people to cross the frontier without undergoing quarantine. Johanna Chan reports.
Speaking to the press this morning, Chief Executive Carrie Lam insisted that the move to reopen the border is not affected by the Omicron COVID variant, as there's no risk of a community outbreak so far. She said those who have business, work, or urgent matters to attend to will be given priority for quarantine-free travel. They can apply for a health code from Friday. Officials are considering opening Shenzhen Bay Port 2 hours earlier at 8 a.m. so that those with a health code or urgent business can cross the border and return on the same day before the checkpoint closes at 10 p.m. Currently, Shenzhen Bay Port, the airport, and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge are the only open routes to the mainland. The Security Bureau is assessing whether more border points should be opened, starting with land routes, which means high-speed rail and Macau ferry services are likely to remain suspended. From Thursday, meanwhile, people going to all restaurants and premises such as karaoke bars and cinemas will have to use the Leave Home Safe app. Only those aged above 65 and below 15, as well as the disabled, are exempted. Lam said she's looking to give more incentives for restaurants to join the Type D category, which requires staff to get vaccinated, but is less restricted, with longer opening hours and a larger seating capacity. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
The chief executive has endorsed a senior Beijing official's comments that Hong Kong has wasted time by pursuing Western-style democracy. Carrie Lam also said more than 18,000 Hong Kongers living on the mainland have registered to vote in border polling stations. In an unprecedented move, the government is setting up polling booths at 3 border crossings for Hong Kongers residing on the mainland to vote in the Legislative Council elections on the 19th of this month. More than 110,000 people are eligible, and as of last night, more than 18,000 had registered. Over 7,000 chose the Lok Ma Chau Spur Line control points, and more than 5,000 each picked Lo Wu and Hung Yun Wai. Registration closes tomorrow.
可以係喺嗰個管制站、臨時投票站嗰度投票。
Chief Executive Carrie Lam said special arrangements will be made to allow the 38,000 civil servants helping in the elections to cast their votes. There will be 630 polling stations across the city. Lam also endorsed a remark made yesterday by senior Beijing official Xia Baolong, who said Hong Kong wasted time in blindly chasing Western-style democracy, leading to deep social divisions. Xia, who heads Beijing's Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, said the electoral reform is not aimed at silencing the opposition.
For example, we are only looking for people who are patriotic. We will not screen out people with a different political background. We will respect diversity, and the improved electoral system will return more legislative council members from a broad range of background.
Lam added that the ultimate goal of democracy is to improve people's lives. An opinion poll has found a slight drop in the number of respondents who said they would definitely vote in the Legislative Council elections. The Public Opinion Research Institute released the result of its latest survey 12 days before the first polls following the overhaul of the electoral system. Johanna Chan reports.
In its latest survey on the public's attitude towards the Legislative Council elections, the Public Opinion Research Institute found that those who said they will definitely vote dropped 2% to 32% from the last polls a fortnight ago. But those who would probably cast their ballot rose 2%. Overall, those inclined to vote stood at 51%. Residents who probably won't vote dropped 1%, while those who definitely won't rose 4% to 26%. Those disinclined to vote was up 3% to 36%. 11% have not decided, while 2% didn't know. The inclination to vote, at 52% 31 days before the polls, is lower than in the previous election. In 2016, 83% of respondents said they would vote. The number grew to 86% 16 days before polling, compared with 51% this year. Most respondents said they knew their geographical constituency, while nearly half said they do not think there are candidates they would support, and 22% were unsure. The latest poll was conducted between November 29th and December 3rd. A total of 861 people responded to the survey, accounting for 44% of the total who were telephoned randomly. The results came days after ICAC chief Simon Pei said the anti-graft body is studying whether the pollsters had broken election laws by asking about blank votes. The Research Institute denied it's under pressure, saying it welcomed any fair and just investigation. It added that it did not ask leading questions or incite people to cast blank ballots, saying voters are smart enough to make their decisions. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
The families of the 39 people killed in the 2012 Lamma Ferry tragedy have published a scathing letter criticizing Chief Executive Carrie Lam. They pointed out Lam had only met them once. That was 9 years ago, on the night of this accident, when she was Chief Secretary. The letter came after Lam this morning defended a decision not to publicize a government internal investigation report. She added that while she understood how the families felt, the judiciary's decision not to launch a coroner's probe must be respected. But the families accused her of lying to the public and demanded to know the truth. Scaffolding at a construction site in the future Kai-Tak Sports Park collapsed suddenly this morning, but no one was injured. The dramatic collapse went viral, showing the moment the 20-meter-high structure plunged to the ground at around 9:30 a.m. Several workers scrambled to safety when the accident occurred. The urban search and rescue team was deployed at the scene on Muay Thai Street, but all workers were accounted for. The Foreign Ministry has warned that the U.S. diplomatic boycotts of the Beijing Winter Olympics will hurt relations, and China will take countermeasures. Washington said its official won't be at the Games because of concerns over human rights.
The athletes on Team USA have our full support. We will be behind them 100% as we cheer them on from home, but we will not be contributing to the fanfare of the Games. As the President has told President Xi, standing up for human rights is in the DNA of Americans.
As Beijing prepares for the Games in February, its embassy in Washington described the boycott as political manipulation, noting that U.S. politicians have not been invited. Major airlines have not rushed to follow the U.S. lead, with Australia and Japan saying they are still considering their options. Taiwan has dismissed allegation that it was behind last week's unrest in the Solomon Islands. Instead, Taipei spokeswoman Joanne Oh said the disturbances were caused by the bad governance of the Solomons' pro-Beijing prime minister. In an impassioned speech after surviving a motion of no confidence yesterday, Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavera accused his political rivals of trying to oust him with the backing of Taiwan. The anti-government protests, which claimed 4 lives, were fueled by anger in the Pacific nation's biggest island over Sogavera's switch of diplomatic ties to China from Taiwan 2 years ago. China has hit out after around 100 Japanese lawmakers visited the controversial Yasukuni shrine in Tokyo. Members from the ruling Liberal Democratic Party and the opposition paid their respects to those who died fighting for Japan. China and South Korea regarded the visit as a slap in the face because they see the shrine as a symbol of Japanese wartime atrocities. Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian called on Japan to face up to its history of aggression, while South Korea expressed deep concern and regrets. And coming up after the break. Britain's handling of Kabul evacuations is denounced as Afghans continue to flee their impoverished country. And China's exports hit another all-time high.